Hi, good evening everyone. I'm sorry, I know this is a weird time that we've gone live with, but we have someone very special chatting with us today. We've got Stefano Giovanoni, who runs Qeeboo, and if anyone's been to Milan or been to Salone will know exactly what Qeeboo is. And Stefano's known for creating really iconic pieces and for creating signature brand identities, and that's something I'm going to talk to him about today. And the reason for the 6 p.m. time is because he's going to be talking to us all the way from Milan, Italy, and I'm really grateful to him for doing that. And if you have any questions for Stefano, I'm going to be running through some of the products he's designed over the years, and we're going to dissect them and talk about them in detail. And if anyone has any questions, just put them up, and I'm happy to ask him those questions as we move along. I'm going to keep pulling up the images, and you can, if you have any specific question about the material or his design experience behind it, feel free to ask me. So let's get started. Let's get Stefano in. Just hold on. All right. We're just waiting a couple of seconds till he joins in. Okay, we're checking. Sorry for keeping you all waiting, just give us a second.
Hello?
Hi, buongiorno, Stefano. Should I say buongiorno or buonasera? Which one would be correct?
Buongiorno, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, Stefano. How are you doing?
Well, very well.
And how's my darling Italy and, my darling Milan doing as of now?
Yes, Milano in this moment is at the center, one of the most affected city by this pandemic. We are working at home in remote with my assistant, but we will. We hope in the next future we will succeed to start work in the office.
So we're keeping our fingers crossed that maybe we'll start by next week. Maybe, hopefully, a little bit will start opening up.
Yes, we have the Giovannoni Design Studio. I am now at home. On the bottom floor, we have Giovannoni Design, which is my professional studio.
Right.
I have also Qeeboo, which is the company I founded 4 years ago. This was the 4th anniversary of Qeeboo Foundation. And unfortunately, we missed the Salone.
I know.
Yeah.
I was in Milan 2 weeks. Salone had their pre-press conference, so I was in Milan 2 weeks before the first case, and it started. It got hit really bad.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful to Giuseppe for connecting both of us, and Giuseppe runs Ghidini 1961 for everyone who's watching. And Stefano has done some beautiful pieces for Giuseppe.
I'm also the art director of Ghidini 61.
Right.
And so I work on both art director for both situation, my own company, and also Ghidini.
Right. And Stefano, your house is absolutely beautiful. Last time Giuseppe took us, I didn't get a chance to meet you, but I was there for a little bit. And the pieces in your home and your giraffe on the terrace, I must compliment you, is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, my house is a little bit like a museum with many different objects that I love to collect from different country and different style. I have some objects also from India.
I've seen a few.
I bought in Kochi a very nice shop selling ancient Indian products.
Right.
And I have some big object from India.
Which city did you go to?
Yeah, I went to India some years ago.
Okay.
And I went to India 3 times. 2 times to the north, 1 time to the south.
Oh, lovely! So you've done both of the most important spaces.
Yeah, I love it. Because our big master design actor, he was very often to India. He went very often to India, and he loves the Indian culture, which influenced a lot his feeling for color, for I think Ettore Sozza, the master culture. I worked with him when he was young. I worked with Ettore.
Okay.
Time, and I think Ettore was the top master of Italian give us imprint to our country.
Lovely. No, I've seen those pieces. I've seen a few around. I think I noticed them. But more importantly, Stefano, I wanted to talk to you today about your unforgettable designs that you create, and they're so iconic. And even Qeeboo as a brand, you've made it a signature identity. You've given the brand such a different identity from every other brand that's out in Italy. Yeah. So, and I also got a few pictures of some of them, and if I can pull them up and you can explain to everyone what the design sensibility was behind them, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I created Qeeboo 4 years ago.
Right.
But, since 1989, I worked with Alexi and for almost 30 years.
Right.
And I create more than 600 products. So I'm the designer who design more products for highest number of products for Alexi and for Magis. Yes.
Wow, designed 600 products.
Yeah.
Wow. And your giraffe from last year is something that went completely viral on the internet, the giraffe lamp.
The giraffe is not my design.
It's Marc Antonio.
It's a Kiku product.
Yeah,
it's by Marc Antonio, which is a very good friend of me. And we launched the giraffe last year. And the giraffe became the star of the salon.
I know, and we're going to talk about all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, I'm just going to pull up the pictures, just 1 second. So should we start with the Bombo?
This is the Bombo stool.
Yeah.
This is a product which I designed in 1996. And this product creates the typology of the stool. It's a stool coming up and down, up and down. There is a pivot lever on the bottom, which you can press, and the piston who is on the base move the stool up.
Right.
When you press again with your weight, it goes down. So this product became the best-selling product in our context for a certain number of years. It was a really successful product. And it's a new typology because the typology of the stool was not so popular in that period, like 97. So the stool with piston became, after the Bombo stool, became a new typology in the furniture context.
Right. And Stefano, you've spoken about how this is one of the most copied stools, and we've spoken
it's
about
the most copied product, furniture product in the world. If you go to China, everywhere you see the Bombo in the city, but also in the mountain, in the high. You see every very often the Bombo stool and the copy of the Bombo. Of course, the copy creates a problem to magicians selling the product because the Bombo stool was an expensive. The cost was about $600, but the copy was very cheap. So the Bombo remained the best seller in the Italian design contest anyway for years. After that period, the copy in part.
But Stefano, how do you feel about it now? I think back then it must have felt a little like, now how do you feel that it's still being copied and it's still one of the most copied products?
Now recently I designed the rabbit chair. And the rabbit chair is also in China a very, very copied product.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up. And I think, there we go.
Yes, in China you couldn't find this version, which is gold finishing. You find the plastic color in a colorful. There is the rabbit. I designed this rabbit as a chair because I think that my approach is anyway always connected to a in this case the idea of the silhouette of the rabbit to the shape of a chair. So if you sit on the rabbit, in your back on the air, you can find a very comfortable seat. But you can also sit on the other way, putting your arm there and riding.
Stefano, what was your inspiration behind the rabbit? Why the rabbit? How do you pick on this silhouette to convert into a chair? How did you stumble upon this inspiration?
You know, this inspiration is something so quick and so immediate that I don't remember exactly. I immediately connect the shape of the rabbit with the silhouette of the chair, using the air as the back. Was something very immediate, very spontaneous. Not a long research or
none of that.
It's something really direct.
It's just something that kind of happened.
Yeah.
So, and Stefano, the other thing I was going to ask you about, even with the Terry boy, is that you've managed to marry whimsy and luxury. You've created that.
Yeah, we have different versions of the rabbit and the teddy bear, because the basic version is important. But Qeeboo is the only company in the world which succeeded to metallize the polyethylene.
Can you repeat that, Stefano? I think the internet got a little spotty. Qeeboo is the only company that?
Yes, we succeed to metallize metallic finish, in this case in gold.
Right.
Gold, very shining finish for the rabbit and also for the teddy bear.
So do you see that's something which makes companies harder to replicate? So do you see this as a barrier?
Difficult. We are the only company because it's really difficult to manage this technology for polyethylene, because polyethylene it's a material you use in the technology of holding, and polyethylene has a lot of micro holes in the material.
Right.
So you have to treat the material and to close the holes. So it's a complex process before metallization.
Right.
Also, metallization is done in very sophisticated, something like a bell, where you put the product inside, and inside the bell you put the real metal, which spread in powder. The powder creates a very thin surface of the product, so very few micron. And that is wonderful, because it looks like real gold, very shining, very reflecting, very precise.
And still light as well. I mean, because you're using polyethylene, it's still...
Yes, but it's the weight is a little bit more than the original one. It's anyway few microns, so it's anyway empty inside.
Right. And talking about materials, Stefano, what do now sustainability is the huge word. So when you're using polyethylene, is it a recycled, sustainable version? Like, how are you incorporating that aspect? Sustainability. So how...
Sustainability, plastic is a problem for when you use plastic for product that you can use and take away immediately.
Right.
But nobody spread such kind of product in Europe. So in this moment, in many countries, there is a new regulation which take care of spread plastic into the environment.
Right.
And of course, it's very, very important. But in case of, generally speaking, in case of plastic furniture, there are a lot of misunderstandings, because we think that plastic is the problem for the environment, because when you take away plastic, this plastic, it goes into the burning.
Burner, the incinerator,
Burn very well and don't create any kind of
fumes.
Pollution.
Correct.
And of course, nobody will spread this object into the environment, while you consider the material like PET for bottle, like mineral water or soap. This is a really big problem. But in some case, we use the PET to produce our product. So we collect the PET from the bottle.
Right.
We recycle the PET we use to produce our product.
Lovely.
Or we can also, in case of bad copy, or we can use and recycle, because the material is completely recyclable.
Right. Stefano, I'm getting a lot of requests for you to talk about the Kong lamps. I'm going to pull that up as well for everyone.
Yes,
so,
there is another product I designed. It was maybe the rabbit is 4 years ago. The Kong was 3 years ago.
Okay.
It's a gorilla which has a torch in his hand. So you can revolve the hand of the gorilla up and down, and it creates a flash of light which illuminates the floor or the ceiling or the wall according with the position you can put it.
Again, Stefano, what was the inspiration behind this? I know you're going to give me the same answer. I feel I'm going to get the same answer.
I remember I had the inspiration of the Congo with light when I was traveling in China. I remember I was in a car and had the inspiration. Because don't think that a designer has inspiration only in front of a white paper. A designer inspiration also taking shower or driving car or in any possible situation. So I remember I fought to the Kong with the torch in the arm when I was in driving a car.
But what did you see in China that triggered this? When you were in the car, what did you see, or did you see something which triggered that, I should do a gorilla with a lamp?
No, I had the idea to create a gorilla, but I don't like to create a gorilla just as a culture. So every product I design had an idea. So the idea was to connect the art with light and the possibility to direct the light.
And I have one more that we can talk about. Just 1 second. And
the gorilla is in two different sizes. There is a big size.
Yeah.
The size of a natural size of a gorilla. So it's 1.60 m height. And there is also a small gorilla, an XS version, which is a table lamp.
This is the big one. The one I have here is the larger one. And now I'm going to talk about. So, Stefano, let's talk about this. I know Marc Antonio has done this, but it's still a Qeeboo product. And let's talk about the ethos, like the inspiration behind Qeeboo and how you create these installations which have a lasting impression. Like anyone who comes to Milan will remember this.
Yes. When I create Qeeboo, since the first year, I asked to design the collection to some friend of mine, which were addressed to a language which was a figurative language, and not. This was a language that I created since the first Alessi product. in 1989. You know, maybe when I designed the Girotondo with the shape of the man, and I designed a lot of products for Alessi, shape of man, animal. For example, the Merdolino was a toilet brush with the shape of a plant. Or the Fruit Mama was a fruit bowl with the shape of a cactus.
Right.
And I found always inspiration in natural things. So things that you can find in nature, like the man itself. Because I think that an approach has to start from something existing in nature, after to create something emotional and ironic, playing with the meaning, playing with the communication of the object.
Right.
And the object I create for Alessi became immediately very successful because there's a very close connection between this kind of approach, figurative approach, and the popular culture. So usually the mass of people don't understand the design codes.
Right.
But they are very attracted by something that is found in nature. This was the reason why I was interested to connect the intellectual design to the popular culture. And the Girotondo tray, which was my first industrial product for Alessi, became the absolute bestseller in the design context.
Right.
Because everybody could love and understand the shape of a little man.
I have that. Yeah, just 1 second. I'm going to pull that one up as well.
So it was a product for
This is the one you're talking about, right?
For a girl 15 years old, for her mother, and for her grandmother. So at the end, after 30 years, last year it was 1989, so last year was the 30th anniversary of the Girotondo, and this seller, we sold more than 10 million products.
10 million
of the Girotondo family.
Wow.
And all the products of Girotondo family are based on the concept to have a very basic shape, absolutely not designed, like this basket is, for example, a basket that you can find in any department store. And all the communication came through the icon of the figurative icon of a little man.
Wow.
And for this reason, I think that people can immediately have a strong feeling with him. Otherwise, we didn't sell 10 million pieces, which in the design context is really unbelievable.
Yeah, 10 million is a huge amount, and this is after many years after you've designed it.
Sorry?
This is recently, right? That it sold 10 million.
30 years ago, but the product is still on the market,
Wow.
still a selling product.
Wow. No, so Stefano, that's something everyone's trying to understand is what makes you think this is going to be a winner? How do you know this one is, when you're inspired, what connects you eventually to say, let's go ahead with this piece?
Mm-hmm.
When you're curating, when you're putting the collection together, or when you're designing,
No, a successful product is a product which succeeds to speak to a wider range of customers, wider number of people.
Right.
So the Girotondo is a product, for example, which could be understood by a girl of 15 years old like by her mother and her grandmother.
Right.
So I always care about design as communication, and my interest in design was to succeed, to communicate, to create a sex appeal which involve and which could be emotional for a wide range. And I create many successful products because I always worked in this direction. So public work and to involve the success of the product was my goal. And many times before launching a product, I discussed with marketing people and I try to understand how many people we could sell. This is the real industrial way of working, because when you work in industrial design, usually as a company you have to pay a big investment because you are old. You have consider, for example, that in Italy you pay the mold of a chair about 100,000 euros.
Right.
It is a big amount. So if you don't sell at least 10,000, 20,000, you miss money. So it's very important for a designer to understand which will be the number of sales and the success of the product. If you are an industrial designer, you have to know it.
True. And Stefano, you've been heard to say that designers will stop designing for manufacturers. You see the end of designers designing for manufacturers. You've said that in the past. That the era of designers working with manufacturers, you see that ending.
Yes, I think that research is very important, especially for young designers. And when I was young, I did a lot of research in language. But today, for me, it's very important to see the product on the market. And design is a very complex argument because it's connected to the development of our society, it's connected to people, designers, connected to technology, to new technology, it's connected to marketing. So it's a very complex argument that you have to understand from many different points of view.
Right. That there are many aspects and facets to it.
But very important to understand and to connect our work to the development of our society. Because our society changed very quickly. For example, in the last 3 years, in the last 3 months, we have a totally different perspective of the future compared to the old one. But a few years ago, we had also big change, and the year before the same. So the situation is a continual evolution, and it's very important that the designer could be a person with long attention, able to understand the development of our society.
And Stefano, what would be your advice for designers designing right now in this atmosphere, in this time of COVID?
Yes, in this moment, I think it's we need a little bit more time because we are in the middle of big changing, a big epidemic, and we don't understand how we will go out from that. We know that our economy will be suffering a lot in the next future. So from many different points of view, we heard people that predict a new attitude against globalization, against the global market. And this kind of theory suggests coming back to the country, coming back to a more natural life, and so on.
Right.
I don't think the future will be in this direction. I think that globalization is something that today is really connected with our future. And I couldn't suppose for my company, for example, I couldn't think to an period without globalization, because today, if we survive, it's because globalization, the emerging countries are stronger and stronger.
Right.
In Europe, in the old Europe, our economy was anyway suffering. So globalization was a very life phase, a very important phase for our economy, and I don't think in the next future we can cancel this kind of direction. But anyway, I think that we have to reconsider our position in many different points of view. For example, one important point to reconsider is about the government.
Right.
Today, the biggest country in the world are the people who take care of the government is usually not adequate to their role. And so, unfortunately, a lot of people didn't take care of the importance of it. I think after this experience, we will be much more care about the problem of all the problem connected to our political way of living.
Right. And Stefano, you all have an office in China, a base in China as well? Qeeboo?
No, I work with some Chinese company also in this moment. We are designing, for example, for a company producing energy. We are designing a wind turbine.
Oh, wow.
And charging electric vehicles.
Right. Wow.
Yes.
And
so it's our client very important also for our design studio. But in the last year, Chinese client also for Qeeboo became more and more, and not only for Qeeboo, for all the Italian design.
And what about, I know a lot of my friends and designers have bought Qeeboo. How have things been between, have you had a lot of work from India as well in the past?
In the past?
From India. Explain this. Has there been a lot of,
Can you repeat, please?
Yes. Has there been a lot of, have you seen a lot of potential in India for Qeeboo as well?
Yes, in this moment, I think in India we can have a lot of potential, but we just started with a few customers in this moment. But I suppose that the Indian market could be a huge market in the future. So, of course, we are interested in this possibility.
Because a lot of my friends and everyone, they're huge fans of your work. Everyone admires you, Stefano. If I even show them one picture, everyone knows it's your piece. So so you have a lot of admirers over here as well.
No, today I think that emerging country, so all the Asian country, including India, has are very important for the development also not only of the design market but also of the design language, because they will bring into the design context a new and different point of view. Our context became more and more suitable for people with very specific for design. I think that design for his nature is something connected to everyday life. Is something connected to the popular culture. And the goal for industrial design is to see his product in the hands of the common people.
Right.
So I think more and more the emerging countries will come to the world scenery, and the more the design will become more modern, more communicative, more emotional, more addressed to the common people. I think this was my belief 30 years ago when I started with this figurative approach.
Right.
I'm sure that today this kind of approach is very important for communicate with emerging countries.
And Stefano, you speak of identity in design as well, how you should bring your own identity to a piece.
Yes. I think it's important that a product has something like appeal, has a strong identity, and immediately communicate with certain people.
Right.
I think a product has to be something with soul. It has to be a good product, a product which you perceive not like a style symbol or a style symbol, but something which could be an affective product.
Right.
Which interact directly with your feeling. Usually we buy products so we are rich or we have culture. In case of my design, I try to create something which is not something that you wanna be ostentatious. You want to show to others, but it's something that communicates with your feeling, with your feeling.
Right.
This is it.
I completely understand. And if there was one piece of advice before we wrap up this conversation, what advice would you give designers and architects moving forward? Any one piece of advice you would give them?
Yes, for young designer, I think it's important that they fly high. In our society, too often, young designers come out from the design school or from the university and they try immediately to design something, to produce something. But we don't need a chair. We don't need. It's important that a young designer has a vision of a new vision that he works on in order to find his own identity, his own language.
Right.
This is very important. And I think today we lose, in our current context, we lose this kind of courage. And the young designer produce object. But while our generation was a generation which started with research on language. And for the next future, and this will be very important in this critical period, we have to come back to research. We have to come back to find the identity of our creative approach.
So essentially fly high and find your own identity. I think those are the two major points that you'd like to make.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Stefano. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, I think design it's important to be like in the artist concept. You can understand when you see a painting of a certain artist, you can immediately understand which was the artist. Also in the design context, we have to create a sophisticated language which could be immediately understood by other people.
Stefano, who is your favorite artist? Now that we're talking about this, I can ask you, who is your favorite artist?
I love all the pop art from Andy Warhol to Jeff Koons to also new imperialistic sculpture, and I think that design and dance are two language which has to find very close interaction.
I've noticed, and your home also speaks that. I think everything in your home is very eclectic and
Yes.
close to a piece of art as well.
Yes, and it's important also in my house. I try to put together objects which came from different culture and also from different historical periods to create something like a hybrid concept. And I think that hybridization is something that belongs to our society today. Today, I think it's not more interesting, a modern house where everything looks modern.
Right.
It's more interesting the interaction between new and old, between something which belongs to avant-garde in art and design, with something which belongs to our memory and to our, and also a mix of different languages, different cultures. This creates a very alive, and it's what I tried to create in my house, which looks like a museum, but I like to live in such kind of environment.
No, it's very interesting because every corner has something different. Every corner is something unique, and everything has a story.
Yeah.
And like you said, it has an identity for itself. But great, thank you so much, Stefano, for joining us today. I think there has been a huge knowledge session, and it was a really good chat that we have today. And thank you to Giuseppe for doing this for us. And
okay. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to talk with you. And I get all the best for the future of design in Indian country.